biology, as we're familiar with it, typically descends directly from one generation to the next. An egg and a sperm making a zygote and a new human, and if it reproduces again with another from one generation to the next, whether bacteria, mammal, fish, plant, so it goes. And now, of course, there's diversity in evolution and selection. What's shown here is just a particular lineage changing over time. We're all operating within the constraint of lineage land. So one thing I could bring to the table is, could we ever imagine leaving lineage land? And if so, how would we do it and when might we do it? I have some, I'd like to call these paints, but they're not, they're really inks. These are jars of ink, and there's 4 different jars, and they're invisible ink. In each of the jars is one of the 4 nucleotides or bases of DNA, a jar of A, T, C, or G. And they're not derived, the molecules in these jars, from pre-existing molecules of DNA. Rather, they're made from sugar and sugarcane that's then modified via synthetic chemistry to make a type of dry powder that's in the jars in grams quantities. And each jar costs about $250. So it's about $1,000 worth of ink. And you hook these ink containers into a printer that's not printing on paper, but is dispensing the chemicals in a particular order to make from scratch whatever molecule of DNA you'd like to instantiate. So this is called DNA synthesis, and it's a technology where the chemistry, the ink, was perfected by 1980, but the industrialization and organization of the printing capacity really only got going over the last 15 or so years. Okay, so what? Well, here's another representation of how biology could exist in space and time, if you will. You could take a lineage and at one point read it out, decoding its physical genetic material into information that could be represented as digital information and transited over the internet. And then somewhere else, sometime else, you could compile it back and reinstantiate the lineage, removing a fundamental constraint in nature, which is the constraint of direct descent through lineage. If you're thinking about techno-economic culture, it means you can instantiate biology wherever you could print the DNA, right? So you can combine the biology with the network, making a biological network. These are 2 fundamental ambiguities, the decoupling from lineage and the disconnect from location and time to another location and time.